Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into some fascinating source material. It's this theological teaching, but it uses quitting smoking as like its main example for tackling any bad habit.
Yeah, and it makes this, well, pretty shocking claim, doesn't it? Our goal here is really to unpack that core argument.
Yeah.
That trying not to do something, using willpower, what the source is called the law, actually makes you want it more.
Right. It's completely counterintuitive.
Totally. And it lays out this path based on understanding real freedom and also, crucially, taking apart the myths around addiction, especially nicotine addiction.
Okay, so let's dig in. The material actually starts with this wild instruction. If you smoke, light one up right now. Listen while you're smoking.
Yeah, it's provocative. The idea is this isn't about health warnings from the outside. The change has to start in your head, maybe even while you're doing the thing you want to stop. A real cognitive clash.
So where does it start? What's the foundation?
It grounds itself in a spiritual concept, quoting 2 Corinthians, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. The argument is that fundamentally true freedom isn't just doing whatever you want. It's linked to the spiritual reality.
Okay. And without that, people think they're free, but they're actually just bound by desires.
That's the idea. Even for believers, the source says having the Spirit grants freedom, but your mind, your soul, still needs the right teaching to actually live in that freedom and overcome habits.
Which brings us to the big question, I think. Why does willpower fail? Why do rules, I will not do X, seem to backfire so often? We've all been there, right? New Year's resolutions.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really practical. It references Romans chapter 7, saying there's this inherent tendency in us towards, well, let's call it self-sabotage or sin.
Okay.
And when the commandment arrives, the rule, the thou shalt not smoke, thou shalt not eat cake, something flips. The text says, sin takes opportunity through the commandment and produced in me all kinds of covetousness.
Covetousness, so like intense desires.
Intense desire. The very act of forbidding something makes your brain flag it as valuable, desirable. It creates this internal battle that maybe wasn't quite so intense before the rule.
Okay, that resonates, the forbidden fruit idea.
Precisely. The source uses the diet analogy. You decide, right, strict diet starting Monday. What happens?
Suddenly, all you can think about is pizza and chocolate.
Exactly. The temptation for all those forbidden foods just skyrockets. Why? Because, as the teaching puts it, sin takes opportunity through the law. The prohibition itself ramps up the perceived pleasure.
Okay. But wait, isn't this just letting people off the hook? Like, oh, it's not my fault, it's the law making me do it. What about personal responsibility, discipline?
That's a really important point to address, and the teaching tackles it directly. It's not about ditching responsibility. It's about where you place your effort, where the real power is.
Okay.
If you try to quit using just sheer willpower, you're operating under what it calls works for wages. You're basically telling yourself, I have to suffer this sacrifice, giving up this thing I enjoy, this pleasure, to earn a result, like better health or pleasing someone.
Ah, I see. So by framing the cigarette or the cake or whatever as a sacrifice, as something valuable, you're painfully giving up.
You're cementing the lie. You're confirming in your own mind that the vice is a source of pleasure, a source of relief. And that just makes the craving stronger. It's a vicious cycle.
That's the trap. Wow.
That is the trap. You're telling yourself, I'm giving up my stress relief, which naturally makes you crave it even more when you feel stressed. This whole system of self-effort, of rules, the sources cite Colossians chapter 2, where rules like do not touch, do not taste, do not handle, are called out as having, and this is a direct quote, no effect against the indulgence of the flesh.
So trying harder just leads to what?
The guilt, shame, yes. What the source calls self-imposed worship, false humility, and severity to the body. Basically beating yourself up. Feeling guilty, feeling like a failure when you inevitably slip. And that condemnation. That becomes the very fuel for the next relapse.
Okay, so if willpower and rules are the problem, what's the solution proposed here?
The shift is towards grace and identity. It points to Romans 8. There is therefore now no condemnation. The idea is to stop focusing on managing the behavior and instead accept a new identity, one that's already free and forgiven.
How does that work psychologically? Separating the behavior from the identity, like that other verse, Romans 7:17, it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells in me.
Exactly. If you can mentally separate the unwanted behavior from your core self, the guilt loses its power, the condemnation we mentioned. Psychologically, that's the belief, I am a smoker, I am weak, I am a failure.
Right, that internal label.
Yeah. And when you relapse under willpower, you just confirm that negative identity. But the grace approach says, okay, the behavior happened, but that's not who I am. My true identity is already secure, already free.
Right.
It breaks that cycle where shame makes you seek comfort, often leading right back to the vice.
Interesting. So this ties into how the source sees a person structured, right? Body, soul, spirit.
It does. The spirit, in this view, is saved instantly, connected to God. But the soul, your mind, will, emotions, needs ongoing renewal through, correct thinking or repentance, which literally means changing your mind.
And the body.
The body's full redemption is seen as future, like physical resurrection. So the key implication for today is you can't conquer the urges rooted in the flesh or the body through fleshly effort, through willpower alone.
Okay.
The battle has to be won in the mind by dismantling that belief system of condemnation, that feeling of being indebted to the bad habit, which Romans 8 calls the debt of the flesh.
This feels like a good pivot then. If the mental game is about overcoming condemnation, what about the physical side? The source makes a pretty bold claim that the physical addiction itself is kind of a myth, or at least deeply misunderstood.
Yes, hugely misunderstood. It argues that calling smoking just a habit is a deep deception. To get this, we have to look at the actual chemistry of nicotine.
Okay, let's break that down. Nicotine is a drug, obviously.
It is a drug, yes. But here's the crucial point from the source. Its withdrawal syndrome, what they call the stage reaction, is extremely weak.
Extremely weak. How so? Because withdrawal feels pretty real to smokers trying to quit.
Well, the claim is that compared to, say, heroin withdrawal, which causes intense physical sickness, nicotine withdrawal is incredibly subtle. It manifests as just a slight feeling of emptiness, maybe like mild hunger or tiny bit of restlessness or nervousness.
So faint that.
So faint, the source claims, that most smokers don't even consciously register it as withdrawal. They just feel vaguely off or stressed and reach for a cigarette, attributing the urge to habit or external pressures, not this underlying very mild chemical nudge.
And the speed it leaves your body is a big factor too, right?
Absolutely critical. Nicotine metabolizes incredibly fast. Your blood nicotine level drops by 50% in just 30 minutes.
Wow, half gone in half an hour.
Yeah, and it's down by 75% within an hour. This rapid drop is why many smokers feel that urge, that little gnawing feeling about every hour or so. It's not psychological timing or habit. It's the body signaling that the drug level has fallen, triggering that weak stage reaction again.
Okay, if the withdrawal is that weak, chemically speaking, why does lighting up feel so good, so necessary? That seems to be the core of the struggle.
That's the lie of enjoyment, as the source puts it. The argument is that smoking doesn't actually provide pleasure or relieve stress. Chemically, it does the opposite. It increases your heart rate, raises blood pressure, introduces toxins.
So the relief isn't actually relief.
It's relief only from the very slight discomfort caused by the withdrawal from the previous cigarette. The analogy used is powerful. It's like wearing shoes that are just a tiny bit too tight all day. They cause a constant low-level ache.
Oh, yeah.
Taking the shoes off at the end of the day feels fantastic, right? Huge relief. But you weren't putting on comfy slippers. You were just stopping the self-inflicted pain. Smoking is like taking off those tight shoes for a few minutes only to put them right back on again.
That's a really different way to frame it. Mistaking the cessation of minor pain for actual pleasure.
Exactly. And this ties back to the law. Society, media, maybe even our own past attempts often frame smoking or other vices as this forbidden, risky pleasure. That very prohibition, that societal law, makes it seem more desirable than it chemically is.
Which explains why some common methods don't work, according to this teaching, like tapering off.
Oh, tapering gets strongly criticized. The argument is that cutting down, say, from smoking every hour to only once every 3 hours actually maximizes the perceived pleasure.
How does it do that? Seems counterintuitive again.
Because you're deliberately letting that mild chemical withdrawal build up for longer. The anticipation grows. You wait, feeling that emptiness get slightly more noticeable until you're really, really craving it.
Ah, okay.
So when you finally have that cigarette after 3 hours, the sense of relief is much more intense than when you smoked hourly. You've basically used self-imposed rules, willpower, to make the drug feel better, reinforcing the belief that it's incredibly enjoyable and necessary.
You're training yourself to value it more. Wow. Okay, so if willpower fails, rules fail, tapering fails, what's left? The source offers specific keys for, immediate success.
Yes, 3 keys based on accepting the truth over the lies reinforced by the law. Key number 1 is you do not enjoy it.
Just flat out decide you don't enjoy it.
Not just decide emotionally, but confirm it intellectually. You have to honestly analyze the experience. The coughing, the cost, the smell, the anxiety about health, the slight headache, the shortness of breath. These are all forms of pain or discomfort, not pleasure. The decision to quit has to come from seeing the lack of genuine enjoyment, not just from fearing the consequences. Fear, remember, is just another form of the law.
Okay, except it's not actually enjoyable. What's key to?
Key to, not smoking causes no suffering. This directly tackles the fear of withdrawal. Based on the chemistry, abstinence doesn't cause significant physical pain. It causes that mild, fleeting emptiness or restlessness.
The tight shoe feeling.
Exactly. And the source argues that the real pain people feel when quitting isn't the chemical withdrawal itself, which is negligible, like mild hunger. The intense suffering is the psychological panic and anxiety, the fear generated by the law, by the belief that you're being deprived of something vital acting on that tiny physical signal.
So the mind amplifies the physical sensation.
Massively. The suggestion is to recognize that slight physical feeling for what it is, tiny and temporary, and consciously choose not to panic. You can even counter the slight oxygen deficit, it says, by just breathing deeply. Clean air actually does bring pleasure and relief, unlike smoke.
All right. Recognize it's not enjoyable. Recognize withdrawal isn't real suffering. What's the third key?
The third key is absolute. No single cigarette ever again.
Zero tolerance. Why so strict?
Because nicotine is a drug with that rapid cycle. Just one puff is enough to reintroduce nicotine into your system and restart the chemical stage reaction cycle. It awakens the minor craving.
So it resets the whole process.
Instantly. The source points out that after about 21 days without nicotine, it's completely cleared from your body.
Okay.
Chemically, you are a non-smoker at that point. Relapse almost always happens when someone thinks, I'm cured now, I'll just have one to see if I still like it, or just one won't hurt. That one puff rehooks the physical mechanism.
Okay, so those are the keys. And the final step is about identity.
Yes, a complete and immediate shift in identity.
Yeah.
You have to stop thinking of yourself as a smoker who is quitting, or even a former smoker who successfully quit. Both imply an ongoing battle or connection to the old identity. Instead, from the moment you decide based on these truths, you declare, I am a non-smoker, period. In the spiritual context, it's being a new creation. In the purely practical sense, based on breaking the chemical cycle of the psychological lie, you are simply no longer addicted. You have to believe the lie is broken now.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, we've journeyed through quite a bit. Theology, psychology, even brain chemistry, all pulled from this specific teaching. The core battle seems to be self-effort versus what? Acceptance. Truth.
I think that's right. Self-effort, willpower, the law on one side,
Yeah.
and radical acceptance of the truth about freedom, the truth about the lack of enjoyment, the truth about the weakness of the physical urge on the other. It's a perspective that claims our biggest hurdles are often the beliefs we impose, reinforced by the very rules we think will save us.
If the struggle is rooted in feeling like you're making a sacrifice, you've already lost, according to this.
Precisely. Because you've validated the thing you're trying to escape. It suggests addiction isn't just a physical battle, but maybe primarily a flawed belief system that we keep reinforcing.
It certainly gives you a lot to think about. So here's a final thought for you, our listeners, to mull over. If this mechanism holds true that trying to prohibit something, focusing on the sacrifice, actually fuels the desire, where else in your life might this be happening? Your work habits, your relationships, your fitness goals. Could you be accidentally reinforcing a negative pattern by fighting it with the law?